And we're on. Welcome. If you're new to this channel, let me introduce myself. My name is Logan. This is timeless personal growth and development. And today, got an interesting topic for you guys today. Talking about letting go of childhood dreams. So at one point or another, we were all children, right? And we grow up and we develop hobbies, we develop interests, we develop fantasies, we develop an idea of what we want to do and what we want to become when we're older. And we're young, we're kids, we're not developed yet. So we have a romanticized view of how the world really works, how the adult world really works. So I'll give you an example for me. I grew up, and probably around my teen years, I had goals. I had dreams. I had fantasies of what I thought I wanted to become and be. So I pursued those goals. I pursued those ambitions around 18, 19 years old. And the harsh reality is that your expectations of what you've developed in your head as a young kid, and then once you get into that, once that dream becomes a reality, and you actually start pursuing that and start getting involved in what you really want to do, and that's what happened to me, getting involved in what I really wanted to do, reality kind of kicks you in the face. And the idea of what you had in your head isn't exactly what's actually happening in reality. And it could be sometimes it could be a very soul-crushing experience. Another good example is meeting your heroes. Now, I say you never meet your heroes because you always be disappointed. Maybe that's not necessarily the case, but in a lot of cases, we grow up and we see and we idolize these people on TV, whether it's a sports figure, whether it's a celebrity, and what we see through the screen gives us a preconceived view of what that person is or is not. And that view can be true or it may not be true. But then when we meet our heroes, we realize, oh, okay, maybe this person that I've looked up to and that I idolized my whole life, maybe he's not as great or not as wonderful as I thought they were going to be. And it was just an image and idea in my own head that I created, right? Exactly. And the same thing could be with pursuing a career, pursuing your dreams. Whether you're pursuing, let's say you have a dream of being a rock star, being a basketball player, and you start pursuing that dream, pursuing that goal. And maybe there's a lot of things that you weren't intending to, a lot of things that, I didn't expect this, I didn't see this coming. I don't necessarily like this part. And that's just, all that is the real world kicking you in the head and kind of shattering that childhood fantasy. But this is where it gets problematic. And this has happened to me, is when that dream kind of becomes a little bit of a nightmare, and it starts making you very unhappy and very stressed and very discontent. But you don't want to let go of that idea and that dream. It's kind of because you don't want to let go of it. Because I can't. It can't give this up because this is my dream. It's my childhood dream, that everything that I wanted since I was a kid. How can I give this up? Even though I'm goddamn miserable, how can I give this up? I can't give this up. So to pursue your childhood dream, you're actually giving up a lot of self-respect, a lot of dignity, and a lot of happiness because you don't want to let that go. And that's a problem, and that's where it becomes an issue. And trust me, I've firsthand experience in this, that you don't want to let that dream go, because it's giving you a false sense of pride, a false sense of happiness, that this situation and this career and this life is actually making you very, very unhappy. And this experience is actually becoming extremely soul crushing. But you don't want to give it up. Because you give it up and you're giving up in your dream. And that's soul crushing as well. So you're between a rock and a hard place. And you don't know what to do. The best thing to do, my experience, what I went through, is to let that childhood fantasy go. Let it go. And yeah, with that will come some anger, and will come some bitterness and some happiness for a while. But in the long run, you will be happier. And that's, look, at the end of the day, that's the most important part, right? The most important part is to enjoy our lives. And if we're not happy in our day-to-day life because we're pursuing some false sense of childhood dream, that's unfortunate. And you need to let that go. And you got to realize you're not a kid anymore. You're an adult in the adult world. And sometimes things in our childhood fantasy make us unhappy that we were not expecting. And that, yes, I agree. Yes, it's hard. And yes, unfortunately, it's very, very soul crushing. But you gotta be okay with letting that go. And it'll be hard to move on from that. It'll be hard to move on. But in the end, you'll survive and you'll get over it. It's very similar from going through a breakup. I don't want to let this person go because they're my soulmate. They're my soulmate, but actually they're very toxic and they're actually not very good for me, and it's actually making me very unhappy and causing me a lot of stress. Get the idea of that soulmate and that childhood fantasy out of your head. And yes, it's going to shatter your soul and shatter your spirit for a little while, but you'll be okay. And you'll collect yourself. And then you'll move on. And you'll be fine. And in the long term, you will be happier for it. Much happier for it. Because then if you continue and you just can't separate your pride, can't separate your ego. No, I gotta do this. This is my childhood dream. I've wanted since I was a kid. I don't care how happy I am about it. You end up becoming a slave to your own pride, to your own ego, to your own childhood fantasy. That's what you become. A slave, because you can't disconnect from those feelings. You can't disconnect from that idea. And you're willing to tolerate a loss of dignity, a loss of self-respect, a lack of happiness, willing to tolerate disenjoyment out of life because you can't separate your pride and your ego. And I've been through that, and it sucks. But you need to pull off that band-aid, and you know what? I don't care if this was what I wanted since I was a kid. I want to be happy now. I want to enjoy my life now. So you know what? Screw it. I'm done. I'm going to go and find something that makes me happy and I enjoy. I'm telling you guys right now what I do for a living. Now, it's not what I intended to do at all when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. Not at all what I intended to do. But my job now brings me more happiness than any other childhood fantasy ever could. More enjoyment, more fulfillment. It's not what I intended. But I listened to what I wanted. I listened to my happiness, because that was the most important part. Was my enjoyment out of life. And my job now gives me a lot of pleasure and a lot of fulfillment. And that's the number one most important part of living our lives. And on that note, if you like this video, thank you so much for watching, guys. You can like, comment, and subscribe. That'll help me a lot and build this channel, to get this channel to people who haven't seen it yet. And I will see you all in the next video. Have a good one.